I stood in front of the chalkboard in the winter-sharp light of the studio, palms sweating inside my sleeves. My research proposal was written out in trembling block letters: genome-scaled function simulation, biological intelligence integration across 3 boards. A dozen eyes flicked over the charts, the diagrams, my scrawled hypothesis, and then landed one by one on me. All around me, clay busts, paintings, and architectural models sat in a clutter that should have been comforting, but the air crackled with boredom and derision. "So," Graham said, not masking the sneer. His voice filled the concrete-walled space like the scrape of a saw. "Let me get this straight. You think you'll, what, upload the entire human genome and simulate consciousness on a computer? That's your big idea?" My knees felt watery. I gripped the podium. Outside, a torrential Vancouver rain hammered the thin windows, distant traffic hissing down Broadway. My mother, a guest that day, sat near the exit. She looked over her phone instead of at me. Uncle Ravi, who always wore a suit to remind people he could afford one, stared with thinly veiled amusement. I tried to find my words, fight the rising heat in my throat. My point isn't to simulate all of consciousness at once. It's about building a hybrid system, AI combined with real genetic algorithms. There are emergent patterns we can't map without using biology. I saw my cousin Amrita exchanging glances with Graham. I pressed on. Imagine treatment algorithms running inside a patient's own tissue, or neural patterns repairing strokes before damage finishes. It's magic beans, someone muttered. Graham said, "Let's focus on what's testable. What can you actually do, not just philosophical brainstorming?" A ripple of laughter rolled through the group. Red swarmed up my neck. I clutched my folder harder. I could feel the fluorescent light burning a sheen into my forehead. "I am building the model," I tried again. Amrita interrupted. "With what? Your free university Wi-Fi? Who's funding building anything on this?" Outside, a siren threaded the rain, a brief, accusing wail. Graham turned to the others. "This is another one for the untethered to reality pile." He wrapped a pencil on his sketchbook with the air of someone closing a case neatly. "Artists dream big, sure, but we also need the basics: access, ethics, stakes. In biotech. You think they'll let a grad student run code on something like that?" Laughter, not cruel exactly, but colder, dismissal seasoned with a bit of fear. I'd seen it since I was a child. The nervous bravado mocking anything different because different made them unsure of who they were. The critique dissolved. My peers drifted to safer topics: landscape painting, careers in texturing, a digital mural in Granville Market. My mother shot me a look. "Why do you keep doing this?" As if embarrassment were a disease I'd caught on purpose. I packed up in silence, hunger clawing my gut. I kept my face steady. Rage flared inside, searing and useless. I wanted to scream, to fling my books across the room, to make them understand, if only for a second, what lived just beneath the words, what kept me awake at night. But the rain and the fluorescent buzz deadened everything. I walked home soaked, each step a weight I had to lift. That night in the alley behind my apartment, I punched the dumpster until my knuckles split. The cold numbed the sting, turned anger into shivers. I hated them all. For giving up, for fitting in, for laughing instead of listening. I hated myself for not being stronger. For the rest of the year, every conversation in my family was a referendum on my uselessness. My mother recounted her friends' children moving to Toronto for respectable careers: law, pharmacy. Uncle Ravi prodded, "There's no shame in teaching, you know, or whatever pays. Dreams are for when you're 20. Amrita uploaded videos of her mural work. She had a show downtown. The reviews called her visionary. My research, if it was mentioned at all, was that computer stuff. I watched them all from a distance that grew by the month. Years funneled through the same routines: grants turned down, code breaking, collaborators ghosting. I bounced from AIs that hallucinated output to cell cultures that died on day 2. Friends drifted away, sick of hearing, "It's almost working." The weather never changed: rain, mist, or a heat so brief it felt imaginary. I learned to close my mouth about dreams. No one at my biotech co-op wanted the hybrid stuff. Do what you're paid for was gospel, and the gospel was survival. I ignored family group chats. I ate takeout in a windowless sublet, watching my grant money crater. When I saw my reflection in the streetcar window, I looked transparent, a shadow superimposed on a city I couldn't afford. But that was the outer layer. Most days, I lived inside a narrow corridor of code and cell culture. Something small, tough, and absolutely unkillable flickered in me. I built tissue cultures in disposable Tupperware, pipetted CRISPR fragments using borrowed lab time at odd hours. Sometimes I fell asleep on the metal bench, head pillowed on my coat. I hustled for a startup, writing white papers for men half interested, half afraid. Not one funder wanted the fusion of AI and real live tissue. Dual risk, they said, pick a lane. I didn't pick. Even as my savings vanished, I chased the math, the code, the lab work, the weirdness of living cells making decisions computers couldn't. I clung to my rage, by now a cold, precise blade. On the worst nights I pictured the studio, the sneers, the laughter, the people who'd made certainty out of smallness. Sometimes the anger felt foolish, juvenile. But without it I had nothing to fight gravity with. One day, 4.5 years from the studio, I got an email at 3:12 a.m. "Are you still developing SC Gen 2? It was from Dr. Lena Wu, a robotics researcher in Edmonton. She'd read my old, half-forgotten preprint left to rot in an open-access repository. "I have funding and a sick daughter," she wrote. "I read about your tissue-air interface. Could you help me build a neural tissue module for prosthetic response? Grant covers all expenses." Her daughter had a form of paralysis, spinal injury, unresponsive to current devices. Lena needed something that could process signals and evolve, not just fire like a simple circuit. She wanted to pay, she needed me. I didn't cry when I read the message, but the zipper inside me, all zipped up since the studio, came loose. I emailed yes, sent code, diagrams, overnighted samples. By winter, I was flying to Edmonton, shuffling between hospital and university labs, eating in the cafeteria, learning Lena's rhythms. Her daughter, Maya, was 12. She looked through me at first, a sharp-eyed kid, quieter than I'd expected. I didn't promise anything. We worked week after week on a living interface, cells embedded with our best algorithms, adapting to the signals from Maya's brain like roots finding cracks in stone. There were failures, but 6 months in the prototype flexed, the tiniest twitch in a prosthetic hand. Maya's mouth shaped a hesitant smile. Lena wept. From then, the project doubled in size. Other hospitals wrote to us, patients with degenerative neural conditions, ALS injuries. We improved the model, published new results. I pitched to every grant agency in Canada, and for once they said yes. Our work had weight. Papers, citations, awards. My parents heard my name on CBC radio. It started to feel real, not perfect, not all-conquering, but solid, a working thing. I moved from the windowless sublet to an apartment with afternoon sun, the kind of place where you could see the North Shore Mountains violet in the dusk. The team grew, other ex-misfits. A postdoc from Mexico who'd fled cartel violence. An AI dropout from Vietnam, twice as frustrated and twice as brilliant as I had ever been. At nights, we argued about religion, algorithms, the ethics of living circuits. I stopped gritting my teeth when I heard laughter. There was nothing left to hide from. One morning a year later, Lena proposed an experiment. "I'd like to show your latest work off to the public, patients, funders, even your family. People need to see what's possible." The old ache surfaced. I thought of saying no. I was afraid to show the studio crowd, the ones who'd sharpened their teeth on my hope. But then I realized nothing else would close the circle. Rage, when it's finished, wants to know what it cost you. Spring shattered the clouds that year, sunlight sliding off the towers, as if Vancouver were a city made of glass and water. I booked the event for a Saturday. A cross between academic conference and clinic open house. Demo stations, snacks, a banner with our project's name in both English and Mandarin. I called my mother, nerves crackling. "We're having the official launch, can you come? Bring whoever you want." She hesitated then. "Uncle Ravi is curious, Amrita too, maybe she'll bring Graham." I braced myself. That morning I dressed slow, simple dark pants, pressed shirt. My hands shook while I buttoned the cuffs. My name was engraved on a plaque outside the lab now, Dr. Priya Jasswell, lead investigator. Maya and Lena were already there when I arrived. Maya wore jeans and an oversized blue hoodie, hair braided. Lena squeezed my shoulder. Over the next hour, the lab filled. Families with wheelchairs, doctors, 3 members of parliament with 2 bright ties, university staff, some curious, some skeptical. My mother hovered near the door at first, out of place among the shiny white machines. Uncle Ravi's suit looked the same. Amrita, taller now and sharper-featured, walked with Graham at her elbow. The air swarmed with conversation, the smell of coffee, cedar soap from someone's hands. I explained the system to a dozen strangers, tissue neurons growing around embedded AI nodes, evolving with the patient's own signals. "It's living prosthetics," I said, "not metal mind or dead circuit, but something that learns endlessly." Graham's eyes flicked from device to me. "So what exactly does this actually do?" My tongue wanted to tangle, rage, and old shame twined iron-hot in my ribs. I forced my jaw loose. See for yourself, Maya. I led them over to a simple test bench. Maya sat in the display chair. Lena connected the interface cable to the base of the prosthetic hand, then secured the band gently around Maya's upper arm, where the nerves ended in scar tissue. Graham glanced down at the table at an array of objects, different weights, shapes, cold metal and glass roundels. He said, "She can control them." "Not just control," I said. "The interface learns with her as she uses it, not just repeating signals but adapting. Watch." We watched. Maya focused, her eyebrows lowered. Slowly, impossibly, her prosthetic hand flexed. Fingers curled with an awkwardness that vanished as she tried again. She picked up the metal sphere, held it, felt its weight. She shifted grip, passed it from new hand to her good hand. The prosthetic flexed, wrists rotating, compensating for the slip of glass she'd dropped 100 times before. Sweat shone on Maya's temple, but she grinned, the way a child grins, not at adults, but at the world finally answering back. The onlookers stilled, someone clapped uncertain, and then the room erupted. I heard the camera clicks, felt Lena's arm squeeze my back. Graham blinked, mouth almost open, but nothing came out. Amrita's hand hovered at her throat. Uncle Ravi cleared his throat. "Is this published? It's quite something." He said it without condescension. "It'll be used in 4 hospitals by autumn," I replied. "We're launching trials." "It's real." My mother came to my side, not meeting my eyes, voice thin. "I had no idea you," she trailed off. "We always thought you'd burn out or move on." She tried for a smile. "But you didn't." I shrugged, feeling the dredged-up ache spill over into relief. Graham tried a joke. "I guess that's one way to prove us wrong, eh?" But it fell flat. For once, he didn't sound like he was winning a contest. Amrita met my gaze, her look unreadable. I realized she no longer pitied me, perhaps she envied me instead. We broke for refreshments. I stood by the window, the city glittering with rain not yet fallen, feeling the lost years thin and spread like paint in water. People filtered in and out, asking questions. Maya showed another patient how to grip a tennis ball. Lena called me over for photos. Government staff exchanged cards, echoing praise they'd once reserved for someone else. At noon, my mother drifted near, hair cut shorter than I remembered. She studied my hands, no longer split, the scars almost faded. "That day in the studio," she said quietly, "I wanted you to be sensible so you wouldn't get hurt. But you were right not to listen. You had something none of us saw." I hesitated, then let myself nod. I wasn't angry anymore, not at her, maybe not at anyone. Rage had built the bridge I'd walked, but it couldn't take me further. "Thank you," I said, voice softer than I meant. "I'm glad you're here to see it." Outside, the rain finally arrived, fat drops falling, washing the glass, marking the occasion more than any speech. We watched Maya walk the length of the table, picking up objects, light and heavy, one after another. People clapped each time. I felt the last of the old shame pull away. I didn't think about revenge or needing to prove it anymore. The proof stood in front of me, the future, learning in real time, grasping the world for the first time. The studio and all its small cruelties faded behind me. I belonged here now. With my family, my failures, my team and patient and future, and at long, long last, I felt at home.